Thank you, Madam Chair, for putting this meeting together. And thank you so much for your work, and working with your office has been tremendous. As you can see on the map, we have a lot of blue dots. So quick question, this is pretty random, but I've had a request from a resident to help with the parking enforcement in their area in West Chase. Do y'all have any type of volunteer parking opportunities for residents that want to support this type of effort? In District F, we actually have designated people we've asked to help us be our eyes and ears. So they send us the photos, the 311 request, and then we work with the appropriate, of course, your office and HPD to get this done. But we have some individuals that had raised this question, so I wondered if that was a possibility.
So state code allows us to train volunteers, but they can only issue one violation code, and that's to vehicles that are parked in an ADA space without the appropriate credentials. We have online training for that. It's on demand. We also have virtual trainings if they would prefer to learn like in a live situation. All this information is on our website. I'm happy to email it to your office. That is the only way that we can authorize a volunteer. But other than that, we're happy to look into the instances that your volunteers bring up to us.
Sure. I mean, I think so far y'all have issued up to 300 citations just in one area, so y'all are doing the work. I think they want to participate in that, but I appreciate the information. Thank you.
We're hiring. We'll be hiring for a fourth shift.
Thank you. Again, from the Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. If you can, because that's not included in your report, we deal a lot with smaller car mechanic shops that are adjacent to neighborhoods in District F, particularly in Carver Crest, where those residential lots have been replatted as commercial and industrial, and then also in portions of A-Leaf, particularly in Bel Air West and Imperial Point. So I'm interested in that information because we are constantly calling your office for some help with that, because once they are servicing those cars, they're parking them on the street for extended period of time. They get chalked, they move them, they bump them up the street for 12 hours later, and it's a repeat pattern, and it's an overextension of resources for things like that. So at a later, if you can provide some information on that, because I would like to inform the residents on that process and what y'all are doing around that particularly.
Absolutely. We'll reach out to your office and set something up.
And Councilmember Thomas, on this chart, you can see that's on the data. It's way fewer, but maybe people just need to report them more and get those numbers up for the commercial vehicles that are prohibited. Councilmember Jackson.
One question: are the punishments or
Councilmember Thomas?
Thank you so much, Lieutenant. This is a really good report, and thanks for being with us. We experience a lot of requests on the west side of town, and I see Mr. Marcus here from the West Chase Management District, and I'm sure he'll speak to that. So I think the 18-wheeler photo that you showed probably was from District F out of West Chase. The expectation from residents in order to get a car towed, I mean, they believe it's supposed to happen within 30 minutes, and it's not real. So this is really good information in terms of the time, and I think what would be helpful if we can have this synthesized and maybe shared with offices so we can then explain to residents so we can keep their expectations, because my hotspot team actually will send photos of 18-wheelers parked all up and down Ashford Point on Derry Ashford, and it's about 12 of them, 10 of them or whatnot. And so they don't have an understanding of how the type of effort it takes in order to get that done. So is it possible for us to get that information as like a one-pager so we can start communicating that out? Is that something that y'all can send to us?
From this PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good, thank you.
Oh, okay, one more. Councilmember Thomas.
I'm sorry about that. Can we go back to page 3 on your approved applications? You mentioned it shows the applications that are approved and that are currently in use. Do you have the information on applications that were submitted and possibly denied? And if they're denied, what are some of the reasons that an application would be declined?
So, for example, for any applications that have been denied, there may have been denied through a public hearing process. Yes. And the public hearing officer, they review the part of the criteria in Chapter 20 and Chapter 28 states that if there is, in order for such pending proposals to be to be eligible is that there are some eligible parking spaces on the curbside or any other type of alternative for the vehicles to park in those areas instead of parking on the lawn. So there's some sufficient alternate supply of parking in the area to justify the prohibited yard parking.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that it's not like an administrative error on the submission side of the community, because if they need those protections and the application was kicked back because something wasn't complete, I want to be able to help those neighborhoods and civic clubs get that application in. So offline, I can follow up with you and your team about maybe applications that were submitted in F that were not approved, to see if we can revisit that with those civic clubs.
Okay.
Thank you much.
Yes, and sometimes, yes, applications do not move forward because of the insufficient submittals.
Right. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Great questions and points.